welcome to Storytime at Seacliff. And it's going to be Thanksgiving at the Dohertys. Yes. Thanksgiving at the Dohertys was always a big day. Thanksgiving at the Dohertys meant, of course, the Doherty family. Mr. Doherty and Mrs. Doherty and Jenny Doherty and Kenny Doherty, the grandmother and the grandfather Dohertys, Aunt Hedda and Uncle Fritz, and most certainly, of course, the turkey and the trimmings. It was still dark when Mrs. Doherty lit the oven and she took the big turkey out of the refrigerator. Just then, someone knocked at the kitchen door. It was Mike, the milkman. "Good morning, Mrs. Doherty. I brought you some eggnog. I thought you would like it for the holidays." Well, as Mrs. Doherty reached for the eggnog, the turkey slipped from under her arm. Now, on a warmer day, this might not have been a problem, but it was Thanksgiving Day, and it was quite cold, and the step was covered with ice. Before she or Mike could even think, the turkey had slithered into the yard. Get it, shouted Mrs. Doherty, and Mike reached out, but the turkey skidded past him, through the gate, onto the street. Hurry, screamed Mrs. Doherty, "Stop that turkey!" The milkman chased the turkey, and Mrs. Doherty chased the milkman, and the turkey slid right down into the pond. Pop, splash! Oh no, it bubbled out of sight. Well, when Mr. Doherty came down to breakfast, he took a long sniff. I don't smell turkey," he said to his wife. "Of course you don't smell turkey," she said. "You have a cold." No, I don't have a cold." Mrs. Doherty shook some pepper in the air, and sure enough, her husband sneezed. "See," she said, "you do have a cold." Achoo! Well, after breakfast, Mr. Doherty put on his coat and scarf and hat and gloves. "I'm going to the bakery to pick up the pies." Mrs. Doherty handed him his boots. "Wear these. I know for a fact it's quite slippery out." Well, Sims's bakery was so crowded, the line reached out past the sidewalk. And Mr. Doherty, well, I have to say, he hated staying on long lines. So he went across the street to the diner to have a cup of coffee and wait. By the time he got back on line, well, the line was gone, and so were the pies. No pumpkin, no apple, no rhubarb, nothing. Oh no, Mr. Doherty was afraid to go home with nothing. "2 boxes tied up with string, please," he said. Well, Mrs. Sims, the baker, stared at him. "You mean 2 empty boxes?" "Yes," said Mr. Doherty. "My, these feel very light," remarked Mrs. Doherty as he handed her the boxes. "Certainly they're light," said Mr. Doherty. "Oh, the bakery, the Sims Bakery, prides itself on how light their pies are." Mrs. Doherty set the table, and she called to her son, "Kenny, you can make the salad. There's lettuce and carrots and radish there in the refrigerator." Kenny's face grew pale. Just yesterday, he had emptied out the refrigerator and fed all the vegetables to the rabbits in his class. Oh no, how could he tell his mother? He couldn't. So he covered the empty salad bowl with aluminum foil and he stuck it in the back of the fridge. When the others went to pick up the relatives from the train station, Jenny stayed behind to mash the potatoes. Every year it was her job. She loved it. This year she thought, "I'm going to make it even better. I'm going to use the blender." Just as Jenny flicked on the switch of the blender, the phone rang. It was her best friend, Nora. If ever there was one thing Jenny liked better than making mashed potatoes, it was talking to Nora. They talked and they talked, until suddenly a wet glump of something hit her on the back of her head. She turned to see what it was. Splat! Another glump hit her in the face. The blender was going wild. There were mashed potatoes flying everywhere. Without even saying goodbye to Nora, Jenny hung up the phone, scrubbed her face, wiped the mashed potatoes from the wall, and she finished just as the others came from the train station. Uncle Fritz patted his stomach. "I'm hungry," he said. Grandpa Doherty laughed. "I'm as hungry as an elephant." Everyone sat down. Oh, it was great. It was a Doherty tradition for Grandma to say a Thanksgiving Day prayer. As soon as the turkey's ready, she smiled. "I'm as hungry as 2 elephants," said Grandfather. Mr. Doherty went to the oven. "I'll carve the turkey now." He opened the oven door. The turkey is gone. Mr. Doherty searched the table, under the table, in every kitchen cabinet. He looked in the sink and in the broom closet. "I can't find the turkey anywhere." Mrs. Doherty took a deep breath and she told them how their beautiful turkey had slipped into the pond. "Oh no, down the street." "Oh, so much for the turkey," said Uncle Fritz, and his stomach rumbled a little bit louder. "Never mind," said Aunt Hedda, very good-naturedly. "We'll fill it up with trimmings." I'll get you the salad," Jenny announced. "Then Grandma can say the prayer." Well, Jenny set the bowl on the table and she peeled off the aluminum foil. Everyone stared at the salad that wasn't. "I fed the rabbits at school," confessed Kenny. Uncle Fritz was beginning to look downright gloomy. So much for the salad, and his stomach roared louder. "I'm as hungry as 3 elephants," sighed Grandfather. Kenny jumped up. "We have Jenny's mashed potatoes," and he brought the pot from the kitchen and he lifted the lid. "I was on the phone," Jenny confessed. "The blender went wild." "So much for the potatoes," Uncle Fritz said, with his stomach rumbling louder and louder. "I'm as hungry as 4 elephants," said Grandfather. The pies," cried Mrs. Doherty. "I'll get the pies." "I'll say grace as soon as the pies are cut," Grandma smiled. Mrs. Doherty brought in the boxes and set them down and untied the string. "You brought home 2 empty boxes?" She glared at Mr. Doherty, who covered his ears. "5 elephants," said Grandfather. The dining room was very quiet. Everyone looked down at the empty table. Uncle Fritz muttered something, but it couldn't be heard because his stomach was rumbling so loudly. A tear rolled down Jenny's cheek. "No Thanksgiving dinner," she sniffed. "Nothing to say a prayer for," sighed Penny. Grandmother smiled. "Of course there's something. There's more to Thanksgiving than turkey and trimmings." And then Grandmother Doherty asked everyone to bow their heads, to hold hands around the dining room table. "And this is the Thanksgiving prayer," she said. "Turkeys come and turkeys go, and trimmings can be lost or..." Can I start all over? "Turkeys come and turkeys go, and trimmings can be lost, we know. But we're together, that's what matters, not what's served upon the platters. Amen." Well, that was a wonderful prayer, said Aunt Hedda. And Mrs. Doherty jumped up and, "We have liverwurst and cheese in the refrigerator. I'll make some sandwiches," offered Mr. Doherty. And Jenny wiped her tears away and she said, "I'll get the pickles." Kenny laughed. "I'll open up a jar of applesauce for dessert." And so the Dohertys had their Thanksgiving dinner after all. Uncle Fritz's stomach stopped rumbling and Grandfather Doherty ate enough liverwurst to feed 6 elephants. In fact, everyone had plenty to eat, but most of all, they had each other. Great story. And we have a very, very, very great birthday today. It's Melissa's birthday. Yes, we're going to sing to Melissa, I'm sure. Now, I know that her children, that's James and Mark and Luke, and her darling husband, Jim, are having a marvelous, marvelous celebration. And maybe even Jimmy and Jerry are going to be up there for the birthday, maybe. And maybe Shannon and Nick, I don't know. But whatever, we are going to have a tiny little cake. But the question is, chocolate or vanilla? Let's check the votes. Because remember, the children decide. Here we go. The chocolate votes are Molly, Alice, Jolene, Ben and Bee, James, Anna and Maeve, Bevy and Henry, Riley, Tate, Sophia, India, the Schuyler sisters, Eliza, Peggy, Angelica, Graham, Audrey, and Lila. Those are all the chocolate votes. Now our vanilla include KJ and Henry, and Joseph and Christopher, Nora and Carson, Marlo and Maxine, and Lulu and Lucy and Frida, Bruce and Max, and Annabelle and Kira. All right, let me count them up. All right, I see 15 for vanilla and 18 for chocolate. All right, Melissa, we have our cake for you. We're ready to sing. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Melissa. Happy birthday to you. Very good. Happy birthday, Melissa. Thank you, cameraman Dan. Thank you, Oberon. And remember, I love you all very,